Okay, I think we can start now. I think we can start now. People that are complaining about sound, there was no sound because I actually like not started. Sorry about that. Okay, let me make some people hosts. Let me look for my students and say where I can make co-host, a bit co-host. Sorry. Okay. Oh, God. Miss Onyeka, are you there?
Here I am.
So I'm trying to check for where I can make a co-host. Onyeka, I think you've been very regular in my class, so let me make a co-host.
Okay.
Yeah, the co-host. I need like two people. Let me see. Who do I know here? Okay, Mr. Isowo, are you here? Don't think he is. I'm the
Yes,
only
I'm
in my
here.
class. Blessing Eraga, I think you were a co-host in my last class. You don't like just to be giving me figures. Mr. Adebimpe, don't think she's here. Who do I have here again? I need three people for a co-host. Though. Hope, are you there? Hope is not here. Miss Moji, are you there? You need somebody that's in the class. I cannot just need somebody that.
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir.
That's Mrs. Moji, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm making you a co-host. Can't find your name again. Now. Okay, so I think that is done for that. So please, I have three co-hosts. I have Mrs. Sorry, I don't know if it's Miss or Mrs. So I'll just call everybody Mrs. So I have Mrs. Blessing Eraga, I have Mrs. Muji, and I have Mr. Onyeka as my co-host. I think Mrs. Blessing was my co-host the last class, so I feel like you know the drill. So if somebody is disturbing our class, please mute the person mic first, second time, the third time, please. You are very free to remove the person from the class. So the class, please. The class. And please, Mrs. Blessing Eraga, nothing is changing. You're still giving me my figures for today's class. So please get your calculator ready. Can you hear me? Mrs. Blessing Eraga, can you hear me? I don't think she's there. Mr. Oyeka, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, please, you'll be giving us figures for this class. Thank you.
Sorry, my apologies. I forgot my calculator in the office, so I'm not with calculator now. Please.
Is there anyone here with calculator? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, please, ma'am, please help us with our figures. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. So let's do this. Once again, good evening, everyone. I'm still your tutor. This guy, please. Mr. Sulaiman Olanshile Mogbola, that's my name. And I'm sure some of you already know, and you know where we are and where we were in our last class. Okay, so in our last class, let me do a brief recap, brief recap because I said it is until we finish the whole topic that we'll do all the recap together. But I always like to at least go back to my last topic a little bit. So in our last topic, we actually spoke about we still spoke about portfolio theory, where we spoke about using formula method, where we spoke about risk of the portfolio, return of the portfolio, risk of individual assets, and return of individual assets, where we did all those plenty formula. Someone said it's called the Cobra. Someone said it's called the Cobra formula. That's the portfolio risk. The one we weight, the standard deviation, the variance, and all those. So we solved one question in class. I think we solved about 2 questions in class. I think and I gave one as a class work in which people actually really submitted. I think most people were right. Because the answer was about minus, I think I've forgotten, -1, -2, and ish like that. So but someone actually brought my attention to something. I think there was an E in the question. Please, it was in our last class. Was there like an E in the question? I think there was an E in the question. I was saying something like what conclusions can you draw? Something like that.
Yes,
So
there was.
okay. So a few people actually sent their solution on that to me, in which I said I was actually going to address in the class. Okay, I decided not to do this. I said I was going to address in the class. So please, anything you have in the D part, please, I want us to move as fast as possible today because, like I said, I would really love to round up portfolio theory in this class. I need to start option from next week. Please, time has gone. So the conclusions drawn from that calculation is that I don't know if anyone noticed that the lower the covariance of our calculation, like the lower the covariance or correlation coefficient between the security, it means the lower the portfolio risk and vice versa. If anyone noticed some of those answers we got, as our what it means is all those low correlation coefficient or covariance, it means that the lower your correlation coefficient, the lower the portfolio risk. It means the lower your risk. So that is what that's the conclusion. I saw somebody said to me an answer with like a whole page. Please, it's just those 2 lines. That's just what your answer is about. So that is that for that. So that is that for that. So let's move on to the next thing today. So I said today we'll be talking about capital assets pricing model. Capital assets pricing model, which is short form of CAPM. I'm sure some of you in your cost of capital would have definitely heard something like this. I'm definite about that. Let me underline this. Okay, so let's leave this here. So let's say this is this. So let me just run through some of the basic theories before we go to the calculation. So what do we mean by CAPM? Although it is the duty, not like the duty, but it's your cost of capital lecturer that would actually is the cost of capital lecturer that would actually dive deep into it, because that is where it is important. But let me just run through it. CAPM is actually one of the most significant innovations in portfolio theory. It was introduced by some people, like about 2 or 3 people. I think William Sharp and all those guys. It's not our work to learn history. But anyways, let me just go go straight to the important one. CAPM, if you want to write, you can write. You know the way we always do. If you want to jot, you can jot, please. So CAPM is actually a model. It's a model that it describes relationship between the systematic risk and expected return for an asset. Let me come again. CAPM is a model. It describes relationship between I already explained systematic risk in this class, but I'm not going to go back to that. It describes relationship between systematic risk and expected return for an asset, particularly stocks. Most times it's stocks. So where or like what occasions do we use CAPM? CAPM is actually widely used throughout finance. Like it's used to price risky assets. It is used to price risky assets. It is used to generate expected return for an asset. Like in situations where you were given the risk of the asset. So those are the one or two situations where you actually use CAPM. And there are about 5 or 6 assumptions of CAPM in which you should have done your cost of capital, but I have refused to, like I always say, I have refused to assume. So I would go through that again. So I don't know if I should type that or I should dictate it. So please be writing. I'll be typing and I'll be dictating. So please, you know me, I will definitely be slow because I'm not like slow, but you guys should be faster than me. So I said assumptions of CAPM, yeah. So assumptions of CAPM. Checking the table. Assumptions of CAPM. So number one, please. CAPM assumes that investors are risk averse. So assumes that investors are risk averse. Sorry, let me do this. So let me do this. So he assumes that investors are risk averse, rational individuals, which are very correct. Rational individuals. What happened now? So that's for the first one. Then the second one is that the markets are frictionless, including no transaction cost and no taxes. He assumes that markets are frictionless. Assumes that markets are frictionless. The markets are frictionless. Are frictionless. Including no transaction cost. That's what being a market frictionlessness means. That is, including no transaction cost, including no transaction cost, no taxes, and all those. So that's for the second one. Please, I would fill in all of this later. Please don't let us waste time in this class. So that's for the second one. The third one is that investors plan for the same single holding period. Investors plan for the same single holding period. Investors plan for the single holding period. That's number 3. For the same single holding period, sorry. For the same single holding period. That's number 3. Number 4, investors have homogeneous expectations or belief. Investors have homogeneous belief or expectations. I think that's about 4. So the fifth one is that all investments are indefinitely divisible. All investments are indefinitely divisible, sorry. Infinitely divisible. The last one is that investors are price takers. Investors are price takers. So that's about 6 assumptions of CAPM. Please, I'll fill this up later. Please, let's just write. We have calculations to do. Please learn these assumptions of CAPM very well. If I can consider that you 5 marks, we can as well come from there. That is some of the theories of CAPM. We all know the formula of CAPM now, which says CAPM is equals to risk-free plus beta open bracket market return. We all know that on premium, which is your market return minus your risk-free. Let me write that here, but I'm sure that we all know what that is. But let me still write that. So I'll fill this up later. Sorry, please. Fill this up later. Don't let us waste time. So let's go straight to our calculating our CAPM. Let me just do this. Calculating CAPM. Calculating CAPM. So we said our CAPM formula says that control zero says that our RS equals to our risk free plus beta. Yeah, represent my beta with B, please. Plus beta open brackets RM minus RF. So this is what our CAPM is saying. I'm not supposed to do all of this because I'm sure you would have done in your cost of capital. Where your RF now equals to your risk free equals to risk free rate. Sorry, let me start from RS. Let me say let me do this. So let me say so your RS here now is equals to your expected, because that's what we are trying to use CAPM to calculate. I already explained it that time that CAPM checks or confirms the relationship between risky assets and expected return. So we are using our CAPM here to determine our expected return. So let me just give you, let me leave story. Let me explain in layman for you. So what we are doing here is that you see this formula I wrote here. Please look at this, my cursor. See this formula I wrote here. So in your question, you'll be given something called required return. So you use your CAPM now. Leave all this story, but the whole story behind it is you now use your CAPM now to determine the expected return. In your question, you'll be given required return. If you are not given, I'll teach you how to calculate it. But most times you'll be given your required return, then you'll be given your required return, then you will now compare your expected return to your required return. So you subtract your expected return from your required return, then you get something we call alpha. You'll be given this your beta, but if you are not given beta, I sent a formula to the group chat one time that consists of how to calculate this your beta. That's if you are not given, but most times you'll be given. So you use this your beta to calculate all this. So when you get this, you get your expected return. When you get your expected return, you're supposed to subtract your expected return from your required return, which will be given to you in the question. So anything you get is called alpha value. So is that alpha value now? I would brief you about alpha value when we get there. But that is not other alpha value now that you will now use. Mr. Rotimi, I'm coming. So that alpha value now is used to check, how would I explain? That alpha value is used to check the value. It's used to check the value of your security. You used to check if it is doing well or if it is not doing well. What I mean is, you used to check if it's to be overpriced, underpriced, or normal. If it's overpriced, there's a particular thing you do to it. If it is underpriced, it is another different thing you do to it. When we get there, we'll see all those. But that is the whole story behind all this CAPM that we're trying to use. So leaving all those story behind, that is what we are just trying to do. So, but we cannot just jump there and just go to the final answer. There are steps and procedures that we have to follow, which is why and what I am breaking down. So while writing all this, Mr. Rotimi, please, you can ask a question, please.
Okay, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Well done, sir. Sir, please, is it possible to, if we are given the expected return, can we still ascertain our required return using this same CAPM formula?
No, sir.
Okay.
The CAPM formula is not to get required return, it is to get expected return. So if you are given expected return, there's nothing you are using CAPM formula to do again. Do you understand?
Okay, sir, how can we then calculate or arrive at our required return? Because there is a reason why I'm asking this question. I saw a video. It was actually today. I saw the same. The expected return was given, and the man used this same formula to ascertain the required formula. So that's why I'm required return. That's why I'm
this exact formula too.
Exactly.
please send the question to me on WhatsApp. I don't know, maybe you don't get, there's a particular way that you can get your required return, which deals with sir, please hold on. There's a way you can get your required return, which deals with correlation coefficient over your standard deviation. That is what you have to be given all those details. Details that involves covariance, correlation coefficient, standard deviation in order to get your required return. But using
exactly,
this
you are perfect, sir. You are right. You are right.
Exactly.
The better. So the correlation coefficients for security and the market were given, and the covariance for the market were given to arrive at the beta. So for the required return, so they were given before he was able to use that CAPM for the required return.
Okay, so let me put you through something. Let me explain something to you. What you are saying is partially wrong. It's partially wrong in the sense that, okay, in order to determine beta of an asset in this portfolio theory, there are about 4 ways in order to get beta of this particular for this portfolio theory. And I sent the formulas to the group chat, but which I'm most likely going to go through again today. If you want to get that beta, you will need covariance, you will need correlation coefficient. There are about four formulas. So it depends on the information of which you are given. So any information you are given, immediately you get your beta. Anything you are calculating with this formula, it is expected return you are calculating. So please do not let us get it. There's difference between expected return and required return. Anything you are using this CAPM formula to do, it is definitely expected return. Your required return is another entire way to get it, but most likely in your ICANN exams, they will give it to you. But we solve a question that they do not give it to us. Please, sir, when we proceed, you'll definitely see what I am talking about, sir. So please, sir, don't rush, don't worry, you see. So like I was writing, so this is my expected return. We know that my RM minus my RF, my RF now is equals to what? My risk premium, Abi? You better not answer me, or you better not answer me. Have you not seen all these things before?
Yes.
We are seeing the phone.
Please, don't let us fight, though. So now, let's talk about, this is the formula to calculate CAPM. But in order to calculate each and every one of all this, because most likely, it's not even most likely, definitely, your risk fee will be given to you. Your market return will be given to you. And you know that they can give you risk premium. When they give you risk premium, you just say like that. That means your market return minus risk free. I'm sure your cost of capital lecturer would have spoken to you about all those. So that's that. So now let's talk about beta itself. Why are we using beta? What is this beta that I used to hear? Beta of an asset. What does this beta of an asset mean? You can still jot if you want to jot, please. I cannot be typing all this. And if you are just joining us, I already explained it that when you attend your cost of capital class, your lecturer used to come with notes. And I explained it to you that this is my first time of teaching in Apex Tutors. So I do not have a note, but by the grace of God, next diet students would definitely enjoy it. And I do not hope to see you there. So next diet student are the ones that will enjoy it. So please bear with me. The ones you can jot, the ones you can write. I'm not that fast now. So the one you can write, the one you can jot, the one you can read on your own. But I always try to explain the calculation part, and I will brief you in my own language of what the old grammar is all about. So now let's explain what beta is. What does this beta of an asset, this beta factor, what does it measure? What does it mean? So beta is actually a measure of how sensitive your asset return is to the market as a whole. What I'm saying is, this particular beta here, it measures the sensitivity of the return of your assets to the market as a whole. It captures the systematic risk of an asset, or the portion of the asset risk that cannot be eliminated by diversification. Let me read that again, or let me come again. I said beta measures how sensitive an asset's return is to the market as a whole. Beta also captures an asset's systematic risk. I already explained what systematic risk is, or the portion of an asset's risk that cannot be eliminated by diversification. You know that we said there are some risks that can be diversified. We said there are some risks that cannot be diversified. Let me ask that question. Let me just assume we all know what the type of asset that can be diversified and the one that cannot be diversified, because that was one of the things I explained in our first class. So but that is better for you. We have three types of beta here. We have a positive beta, we have negative beta, and we have zero beta. I said we have positive beta, we have negative beta, and we have zero beta. This also moves in the same way with correlation. That we already spoke about correlation, and we spoke about positive correlation, negative correlation, and all of them.
Sorry, sir. What is it, zero beta that moves with correlation?
No, sir, no, ma.
Okay.
When I say move with correlation, I meant like we have positive correlation, negative correlation, zero correlation. So for beta too, we have positive beta, negative beta, and zero beta. And when I mean move, you know that positive beta now means that they are moving like opposites. They are moving, how do I explain it? Like they follow a particular chain that is like opposite of the market. If one is going up, the other one is going down. Like they just move opposite of the market. That is what a positive correlation is. But when we speak about negative correlation, like all these ones, they move inversely of each other. I see the same thing as beta and zero beta. They don't have any correlation. They don't have any correlation to the market. They don't have any correlation with the market. So that is why it is like that. And normally the beta of an asset of the market is always 1. Please, you can note that down somewhere. The beta of an asset is always 1. So you can talk about positive beta, negative beta, zero beta, but I'm sure all these ones are just for knowledge sake actually. An examiner will tell you define positive beta, define. We don't do that here. We go straight to the point. So like Mr. Utimi asked, so we actually have about 4 ways to estimate. We have about 4 ways to actually estimate beta of an asset. So that is what that is the one I would dive so much into. So I said let's talk about estimating beta value here. So we have about 4 ways. Mr. Utimi, please pay attention here. When you get here now, you'll see what I was telling you about. So the first one, but I actually already dropped all these formulas on the group chat, but I would definitely still do it again. Okay, so the first one is that this one deals with excess return on security and excess return on market. Like I said, there are about 4 ways to estimate your beta factor. Nobody in this life, no examiner, will tell you to use the 4 ways or the 4 method. You will definitely just have to use one. But you can be given information. It's just information. Nobody will tell you use this one, use that one. You just be given information on them. So it is now left to you, Jesus. So it is now left to you to know the one you are asked, the information is talking about. Because okay, now this one we have excess return on security. Not you now. So let me adjust this thing. So for this one, we have excess return on security. So when you see information that relate to excess return on security, it is the one you should know that is the one you are supposed to use.
Sorry, sir, are they giving us this formula in this year, or we are cramming everything?
Please, this particular one, you cram it though, because I don't think they're giving you this one.
Wow.
You can check the back of your Pathfinder to confirm the formulas, the ones they are giving you and the ones they are not giving you. So you know the one to cram. But for this particular portfolio theory, I don't think they are giving you any. This one is excess return on security over excess return on market. Please bear with me. I know I'm not functioning at 100%. I had a very, very, very hectic day. Very, very hectic day. But because of exam is almost near, we have to do what we do best. So I cannot even Mr. KABIRU will not even allow anybody at this point to even say I will not be around. Exam is very near. So please permit me if I'm not working at 100%, but always trust me now to come back and still do 1 or 2 revisions about it. So let's just stay focused today and just manage me like that. So we represent this with RM. Sorry, let me do this in small letter. RM minus RF. So this is our RS. Let me still use small letter. RS minus RF. So this is one of the formulas to use here. So it's still the same thing. We know that our RS is still our return on security. RF is still our risk-free and all this. So this is a way to actually get your beta. This is the second way. Your beta now, your beta can be equal to this is the one Mr. Rotimi was asking about. This one that has covariance. So as covariance of security. But Mr. Rotimi, please send me that question still. Okay, let me address something here. Jesus. Actually, like I have some students that have been sending me some questions about other topics. I actually like I do not like I forbid it, or I like it. I love it when students send me question, honestly, because I feel like I'm actually helping. But please bear with me. This period, all of us knows the way things are. So I've not even really had time to even answer some of all these questions. But please and please don't be discouraged. Please keep sending, and I promise to look at them as soon as possible, as soon as I can. Let me say as soon as possible, as soon as I can. I don't know if those students are in this class, but I'm sure people are sending me. I like the fact that you guys are already reading ahead, but I don't know if your lecturer already taught it. Like people are already sending me questions on free
Hello, it's like it's offline. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, it's offline. No.
Yes,
Can
he's
hear you.
offline. We can't hear him again.
Can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, we have to add him back, but I'm not seeing him in the participants.
Maybe he's having network issue.
Maybe. Well, let's wait for you to come online so that we'll add him back.
Sorry, has the class started? I can't hear anything. No.
Not only you, we are just waiting.
The guy
Because
went offline. We are still waiting for him to come online again.
he has not done
Like
anything.
having network. No, he's not yet. He's not online. So we are waiting for him to come online. Maybe he's having network issues.
Because I saw 9 o'clock, I was like, my God, they must have done 1 hour only for me to come here.
Pope, we are just coming. We have started maybe around 20 minutes or 30 minutes ago. But he just went offline. He's having a network issue.
Okay. But has it done much? What was the topic started? Is it a new topic?
It's still on the portfolio theory, on the CAPM, capital asset pricing model.
Mr. Shilly, right?
Yes.
Yes, your friend.
Wait, do you have his personal number? Can you reach out to him?
Oh, yeah, let me call him. I'll call him now.
Try.
Okay, please, who was in the last class? I tried solving the questions. I wasn't getting it right. Under beta factor, the last class. Sorry?
090 30 38 70 38.
Hello, please, can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Welcome back.
The devil is a liar.
What happened?
Welcome back, sir.
Devil is a liar this night. I don't know what's wrong with my network. It's messing up.
Sorry. Welcome back. How can I make you the host again? Because like the system make me the host automatically.
I'm not even fully connected. I'm actually still connected to my phone. That's why I cannot see my screen yet. I'm trying to switch it to my system, but it's still doing network issues.
Okay.
But okay, let's be like this. As I'm trying to sort this out, let's keep writing. So when I'm properly switched, I will just pick up from there. So I think I stopped at don't bother about my screen. Okay, still recording. I think so. It should still be recording. Okay, don't bother about my screen. When I come back, I would explain and write what we are supposed to write. So please, let's just so we'll not waste time. So
Okay.
I think I stopped at covariance of the security of the market over variance of the market. So that's number 3 for that. The last one of this okay, the third one of the formula. The third one of the formula is saying that beta of an asset equals beta of an asset, beta equals R times standard deviation of the security over standard deviation of the market. R times standard deviation of the security over standard deviation of the market. And we all know what our R is. Our R means our correlation coefficient. So what that formula is simply saying is beta equals correlation coefficient times standard deviation of the security over standard deviation of the market. Is that clear, please? Is that clear, somebody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. I'm still trying to connect my system, but the devil will not win us this night. So so the last one now, the last method to calculate your beta asset now is your beta equals n summation xy n summation xy minus summation x summation y. Jesus. N summation xy minus summation x summation y over n summation x square.
We're not
N
seeing the
summation.
board, though.
I just explained something to you now. When
So
I'm
continue.
switching, when I'm done switching, I would connect the board. Please just endure. Next 5-10 minutes, I should
No
be
problem.
able to. The network is doing rubbish. So I said the last one is n beta equals n summation xy minus summation x summation y minus summation x summation y over n summation x squared minus you now open bracket summation x close the bracket squared. Now let me come again for that part. I said minus open a bracket summation x close the bracket squared. I don't know if that is clear.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So those are the 4 methods to actually, please, if it is somebody that wrote it perfectly, please snap what you wrote and send to the group chat. So if it's correct, I will say it is correct. And if it's not, I will make adjustments to it. Somebody, one person, please. So I will be able to like set the rest. So your N here, your N is your number of periods. Your X is your return on market portfolio. Your X is your return on market portfolio, while your Y is your return on security. I said your N is your number of period, your X is your return on market portfolio, and your Y is return on security. What's this network doing now? So those are actually like the 4 methods to calculate your beta value. So like I said, Mr. Rotimi, please. So like I said, these are the different methods, different formula to actually estimate beta value. It depends, each and every one of these depends on the information available. So if you have, let me ask general class, if you have information on, they give you something like, they give you something like, they say, okay, this person is expecting an excess return on this particular security, and there is this particular excess return on the market. Which formula would you use?
Number 1.
The first one. Thank you very much. So if you have information on your correlation coefficient, your standard deviation, your standard deviation of security, standard deviation of the market, which one would you use?
Number
3.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So this always depends on kind of
Yes.
Okay, class. I think we actually have a major problem. So the major problem is actually my network that is very terrible. And like this, I don't. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes,
Okay.
we
Yes,
can.
So it's actually my network that is very terrible. So what I would say is, so I'm actually connected to like someone's hotspot, and I will not be able to like obviously share hotspots in my system because even me, I'm still connected to hotspot. So what I would just do is I will run through all the like theories I'm supposed to do, and I don't know if it is possible if we can. I'm still going to be in transit tomorrow. Okay, maybe during the week, sometime during the week, maybe where's your Thursday? Please and please, let's endeavor to meet again. So we'll finish portfolio theory and say bye-bye to. So from next week, we'll start option because normally option 2 will take us like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And we have to finish by like April. So please, we'll meet during the week. But let me just run through the theory so we'll not be like, because I'm not at home. I actually carry the system, so because of this class. So it's not going to make sense that I carried it and I do not now do any class. So let me just run through the theory and the one that I will probably not need to share my screen. So please endeavor to just bear with me. So that is that for the calculation of beta. For the calculation of beta value. Now let's talk about, I don't know, I believe we always hear that when there is a beta, there's always like going to be like an alpha. Now that's not our belief from like school. So normally after calculating the beta factor, we also
Sorry,
have
I
what we
can't
call,
see the screen, sir.
Are you not with us? He said you cannot use the screen.
explaining now about the screen.
no, I cannot share the screen, ma.
He
Like
said
I'm
he
not
was
able
going
to.
out in and out of the class. My network is bad.
Mine is terrible, ma. So I'm not able to share the screen. Please just bear with me for tonight, please. So I'm talking about the theory part, but do not bother. Our next class, I will still run through all these things. So we'll not be like we did not do anything this night. So please. So we spoke about beta. So now let's run through alpha. So when we run through alpha, I will now explain some things to you about underpricing, overpricing, and please you write those ones down. So our next class will not go deep into them again. So what do we mean about alpha factor? Let me say something. When it comes to portfolio, some people in beta factor only systematic risk. I don't even notice that everything I was mentioning in beta factor, it dealt with systematic risk, and I explained in our first class what systematic risk are. That they are the risks that cannot be diversified, and all those. They are the risks that affect everybody, like a particular industry or anything. Where I give example like COVID, inflation, war, all those things. Please and please read. So I don't know if you noticed that. Okay, so now like I was saying, I said everything we mentioned in beta factor dealt with systematic risk, neglecting unsystematic risk. So and you know that if you use CAPM, it is actually possible that your expected return will be higher than your required return. This like when you're anytime your expected return, please note this down. Anytime your expected return will be higher than your required return, this is considered to be abnormal return. It is considered to be abnormal return. But this particular abnormal return now is caused by unsystematic risk.
Sorry, sir. Please, can you come again? Sorry.
I'm not actually dictating. I'm just saying you should just pick anyone you can hear. I would still most likely dictate later, but just jot anything you can hear. But I'll still come again. So I said anytime expected return will be higher than required return. If it is CAPMO, that excess return is known as abnormal return. When expected return will be higher than required return, such return is known as an abnormal return. And this abnormal return is caused by unsystematic risk. It's caused by unsystematic risk. And you know that this is caused by unsystematic risk. And this unsystematic risk that we are talking about now, it was not considered by CAPM. Because everything we spoke about CAPM dealt with systematic risk. So that's why we now have to like bring in alpha factor. which is where we are, which is leading us to where we are going to now, alpha factor. So how do we calculate alpha factor? Okay, this alpha factor that we are calculating now, we'll calculate it. It's still almost the same thing as how to calculate beta, as how to calculate our normal CAPM. But the only difference is, you know that normally when we calculate our CAPM, there was no inclusion of unsystematic risk of the alpha factor. There was no inclusion from beginning. It was just systematic risk. But now, if you want to calculate alpha factor now, you have to add it. When I mean you add it now, what I'm saying is, you know, your CAPM formula is risk-free plus beta, open bracket, market return minus risk-free. So if you want to calculate this particular alpha now, you will now add it plus alpha. You will now add it plus alpha. Before we, let me explain what I mean very well. Do you know that apart from the unsystematic risk now, and which is this alpha is actually one of the most important parts of this portfolio theory. Why? Because it helps you to actually determine whether your investment is actually performing well or not in terms of return. When you want to determine your return, it helps you to determine if this particular investment is performing well or not. Let me even it is very obvious because beta factor that you're using, I'm saying differences between beta factor and alpha factor now. You know that the beta factor will be given to you in the question most times. If it is not, all those formulas I give you, use it to calculate it. But that CAPM formula, like I said earlier, you are just using it to determine your expected return. Expected return now you cannot use expected return to determine whether your investment is performing well. I don't even know understanding me. You cannot use expected return to determine if your investment is performing well or not. Because that is just one part. What about the required return? So you need to compare your expected return and your required return to determine, okay, this is amount of return that I'm actually expecting, and this is the amount of return that is required. So am I making profits? Am I making loss? Is this security or is this investment? Is it performing well or it is not performing well? So it is alpha factor that you use to determine all those things. It also helps you to determine whether an investment is overpriced or not. Okay, anyone that said he or she has seen portfolio theory question, I'm sure probably if you did not understand, if you go to the back, you see something like underpriced, overpriced, normal price. This one should be sold. This one should be bought. This one should be kept. So all of all those meaning, all of all those determination were concluded or were determined using alpha factor, because it's alpha factor that compares your expected return to your required return, and that is what you need to determine all this. So you can write this one down now. Significance of alpha factor. Alpha factor helps to determine whether a particular investment is performing well or not. Alpha factor helps to determine whether a particular investment is performing well or not in terms of returns. Full stop. It also helps to determine whether an investment is overpriced or underpriced. I said that earlier. That it also helps to determine whether an investment is overpriced or underpriced. It is also used to determine whether security okay. If you notice the second usefulness, it is used to determine whether an investment is overpriced or not. If it is overpriced now, that is when you will use to determine that, okay, should I buy this? Should I not buy this? Should I hold on to this? Should I not hold on to this? So in order for you to know which one you should buy, which one you should sell, which one you should hold on to. Like beta factor is, alpha factor also is. Alpha factor can be positive, it can be negative, or it can be zero. I said it earlier that I said it earlier that beta factor can also be positive, negative, or zero. So the same thing for alpha factor. Alpha factor can also be positive, it can be negative, and it can be zero.
So a positive alpha, please write this particular part down because this is what determines either it is underpriced, either it is overpriced, or either it is zero. So a positive alpha, what does a positive alpha? I said it can be positive, it can be negative, or it can be zero. What does a positive alpha means? A positive alpha actually means that an investment or a security is performing well in terms of return. It means that it is performing well in terms of return. It indicates that this particular security is underpriced. It means that it is performing well. It means that it is underpriced. Therefore, investor as an investor, something that is underpriced, it means that you invest in such security because it is cheap. Something is underpriced. It means it is cheap. So you should buy such security as an investor. But you have such security on your hand before. Let's say, okay, let me give you an example. Let me use stock as an example of what I mean by positive alpha. So what I mean by positive alpha is that it means that this security is performing well in terms of return. I'm talking about stocks now or shares. Okay, let me say shares. Whenever you calculate your expected return minus your required return, and you have a positive alpha, what that positive alpha is telling you is that, okay, this particular security is performing well. Because it's performing well now means that it is underpriced. As it is underpriced now, as an investor, you want to buy the shares that is underpriced, shares that they used to sell 10 naira per share before. Now is now 3 naira or 5 naira per share. You that you want to invest, you will rush and you will go and buy because it is underpriced. But you that you already have such shares on your hand before, you will not sell it now because it's underpriced. Shares that normally are supposed to sell for 10 naira, now it's now 5 naira. Will you still sell it? You will not sell it now because now it is underpriced. But as an investor that you want to invest in the business, now you will rush and you will go and buy such investments. That is for a positive alpha, which means that it is underpriced, which means that the investment is actually performing well. That's for positive alpha. Now let's talk about negative alpha. Negative alpha is the direct opposite of positive alpha. Negative alpha means that the security is not performing well at all in terms of return. It means that security is not performing well in terms of return. It indicates that the asset is overpriced. And asset that is overpriced, something that is normally was supposed to be 5 naira, getting to the stock exchange market, you see that it's now 10 naira. As an investor, you will not buy it. But if you have such investment at your hand, you would sell because this thing you bought it 5 naira, but now it's now 10 naira. You would sell it, so you take advantage of that overpricing and you will sell it. A zero alpha means that the asset is properly priced. It means that the asset is properly priced. Let me give you a short form I used to use when I was writing my exam. It's called NOPU. You can write it down. NOPU. When I mean NOPU, it is NOPU. 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 It has always worked for me and it has never stopped working. I pray that it will not stop working on your head by the grace of God. This is called NOPU. NOPU. It means negative overprice, positive underprice. Because to be cramming all these things might be problems sometimes. So NOPU, NOPU, negative overprice, positive underprice. So that means whenever you have a negative alpha, that means it is overpriced. And when it is overpriced now, what should the investor do? Investor, anybody that wants to invest, you will not buy. That means investors should not buy. But when it is underpriced, it means that investors should invest in such security. We are using alpha factor now. Like I said earlier, you want to. Okay, someone actually asked me in our last class that we use all these things in a normal working environment. I used to say something. Some part of SFM are actually like they are vague. You don't actually use them in a normal working experience, and there are some that they use in the stock exchange and all those things. But most accountants, the only accountant that work in they have them CIS, stockbroking, that works in stockbroking firm and all those things that might come across most of all these things because the only people that not like only, but most people that are working that have like CIS and stockbroking experience that actually manage people's portfolio. So it's when you manage people portfolio that you encounter most of all these things. So so that such person will know what it means by alpha, positive alpha, negative alpha, and all those. So let me come again about the alpha, because we'll use it mostly in our next class, please. So what I said alpha factor can be positive, it can be negative, and it can be zero. So when alpha is positive, it means that no pool. It means that the security is performing well in terms of return. It is positive now. It's performing well in terms of returns, and it is underpriced. Anytime it is underpriced, investor will take the opportunity of the underpricing. You go and buy more. You rush and go and invest in such security because it is cheap. But if you had already invested and you have investments in the shares and it has come down, it is now down, you will not sell it. Something that you bought 7 naira is now 5 naira. You will not sell it. You will wait till it is probably overpriced. So that is what alpha positive means. Alpha negative now means that the security is not performing well in terms of return. Alpha negative, it is not performing well in terms of return, indicates that the asset is overpriced. And anytime asset is overpriced, investor, you should not buy. That's the advice you give, that do not buy this investment, do not buy these shares, do not buy this stock because it is overpriced. And if the person had already bought it, please just tell the person to sell it and take advantage of the overpricing, because you bought it 5 naira and now it's now 10 naira per share. So you advise the person to sell it. And anytime you have alpha zero, anytime your alpha is zero, it means that the asset is properly priced. So now that we have all the information we need, we're actually supposed to be solving. But since my network has decided to share most this night, I'll talk to Mr. KABIRU and we'll fix the time during the week and we'll meet. So what I will do now is let me give you a proper scope of what we are doing. So this is what we are doing here. So in our question, they will give us in the question. They will give us our beta. In most questions, they will give us our beta, and they will now say something like, okay, we should calculate the expected, we should calculate the returns either of each of the portfolios or all the portfolios together, something like that. So after the question is around that, the first thing we'll do is, if they do not give us beta, we'll first use either of all those formulas to derive our beta factor. The moment we determine our beta factor, we'll now use CAPM, which is CAPM formula. We'll now use CAPM formula to determine our expected return. CAPM formula now, which is RF plus beta, open bracket, RS minus RM minus RF, which is your risk-free plus beta, open bracket, market return minus risk-free. So we'll now use that CAPM formula to determine our expected return, either of individual security or the total portfolio security. So we use that formula to determine our expected return. The moment to get our expected return, that will first stand. We're now going to look for our required return. Most times they will give us, but if they do not give us our required return, I will give you the formula to calculate required return. So you now get your required return. The moment to get your required return, you now subtract your expected return minus required return. When you subtract your expected return from your required return, you have your alpha factor. You have your alpha factor. So when you have your alpha factor, you now determine that. You now decide that, okay, is this a positive alpha? Is it a negative alpha? It will show in your, like, it's not experience. It will show in your figure. Let's say, okay, let's imagine that our expected return now is 10 and our required return is 5. Is it a positive alpha we have or negative alpha? Somebody. Our expected return is 10. Our required return is 5. Are we going to have a positive alpha or a negative alpha?
Alpha.
Ma'am?
Positive alpha.
We have a positive alpha of 5.
Yes.
So if we have expected return of 5, required return of 10, are we going to have a positive alpha or a negative alpha?
Negative.
You have a negative alpha of 5.
Negative.
So we have a negative alpha of 5. So the moment, so what you will now do is, okay, when we have our positive alpha now, what are we now going to do? Is it our positive alpha, is the asset overpriced or is it underpriced?
Underpriced.
So positive is underpriced. So if it's underpriced now, what does it mean? Should the investor hold on to it or should he sell it?
Buy more. To invest.
He should
Buy more.
invest. That means he should buy more because it is cheap.
Invest.
But if it is negative, the negative alpha, what are we going to do to it?
You sell it. You
So
sell it.
So the negative alpha, you will sell it. So the moment you do all those, you are done. That is the only thing we'll do in our next class. That is what CAPM and portfolio theory is saying. That is just all about that. But the only problem where they used to lock it most time is probably that beta factor, because they will know that some of you do not intend and some of you do not know all of the 4 formulas. That's a way to lock it. They will probably not give you the beta. They first determine the beta of the assets. They'll give you all other formulas. That's a way to lock it. Another way to actually lock it is they can give you number of shares. They'll give you share price. Then they will now tell you to determine the beta factor of the portfolio, required return. So if you have all those, you will need you'll be needing total number of shares. You'll be needing total number of the total market value and all those. So those are the ways to look at. We'll check like 3 or 4 questions and dash that one out and finish with portfolio theory by the grace of God. Then start options in our next class on Thursday or Friday. Please, okay, before I go, please, is there any question? Is there any question?
Well, the only question I think I have is that I didn't get the context from the beginning, but since you are going to recap in the next class, then that's not a problem again.
You don't get the context of the...
Where you were doing the n summation, x y minus summation, x summation y. So I just from why you are giving me, but I do in the next class, I will get it.
That one, it was you that came late now, Abi.
It was the network where I asked Mr. KABIRU if there will be class today. He did not say anything, so my mind was not set. That was why.
Okay. I'm most likely going to shoot again now. Most likely. Okay. So I think that's the only question. So let me say this before I go. Please endeavor to bear with me. Maybe today. I'll make sure it's today. I'll call him when we are done with class. Then we'll check time together and check my availability during this week. So we'll meet again during the week, maybe on Thursday, most likely, because I'm not even around now. Maybe that's why, because I'm in one village like that. Maybe that's why my network is kind of messing up. But I will definitely speak to him. I should be back home like Tuesday, Wednesday. So anytime during the week, maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'll talk to him. Then we'll please take class, and we'll meet and finish this portfolio theory once and for all. So please, you can check questions. Please check questions, and you know the way we always do now. We'll solve my own question. Then we'll now come and solve one Pathfinder. So this time I don't want to be the one to go and pick the Pathfinder question, because last one I picked, most people are just saying they've solved it. People are reading too much. Most people are just saying they've solved it. So please, maybe 1 or 2 people should please check Pathfinder and send the questions to me. So I'll pick one that will solve on portfolio theory. And please, any question you are picking from Pathfinder, please make sure you has CAPM. And okay, let's do like this. Let's be more interesting. I need 2 questions. Someone should give me the one that contains the CAPM. One should give me the one that contains the formula. So we'll check the 2 of them together in class and round off portfolio theory once and for all. So please let me apologize again for what happened tonight. Please, very sorry. Is the network. Yeah, it has refused to connect to my system, meaning that I cannot share my screen because everything is on my system. I'm working on the Wi-Fi now. That's why I cannot share my screen on my phone. So please bear with me, but I will definitely make it up to you in our next class. So please, very sorry about it, and I hope to see each and every one of you during the week. So complete this once and for all, and start option next week. So thank you very much for attending. I'll see you during the week.
Save Johnny back home, sir.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Please,
Sam. God bless.
someone should give me the better formula in the WhatsApp, please.
I'll send it on the WhatsApp. I don't know whether you help me confirm.
Thank you. I have not seen it.
On
So is it the
WhatsApp?
one that says n summation xy minus summation x summation y over n summation x square minus summation x all square?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, now. Is n summation...
Miss Adebimbe, please send the, let me first, hold on, let me stop recording first. Okay, Jesus. Oh. Jesus. Mr. Onyeka, are you still here?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. Please stop the recording.